Guys, till now we had discussed about SQL Server, which is a database where we'll store all of our data. And so once we are done with SQL Server, we are going to learn about SSIS, which is an ETL tool, right? So as you all know that ETL tool is used to extract data from various sources and then load data into a destination, right? So as part of that, we are learning SSIS, which is SQL Server Integration Services, and which is an ETL tool. ETL is nothing but extraction, transformation, and then load. So I think in demo class I have told you, I guess. So SSIS is SQL Server Integration Services, and then it will do ETL operation. ETL is nothing but extraction, transformation, and load. So extraction is nothing but fetching data from various sources. That source may be a file, that source may be a database, that source may be Excel, right? Or Notepad, whatever it is. So fetching data from various sources will call it as extraction. And transformation is nothing but applying some intermediate operations. Let's say if you want to sort the data, if the input is not in sorted order, if you want to sort it, that is one thing. And if you want to eliminate duplicates, that is also kind of transformation. And if you want to do some incremental operation like we did it in SQL Server, we can do it in SSIS as well. So to do all these things on the source data, we'll call it as them as a transformations. And then loading is nothing but finally loading data into a destination. That destination may be a SQL Server or maybe a file system. See, basically most of our projects will be, the destination will be used SQL Server only. Why? Because since we are using Microsoft technologies, the destination also will be SQL Server, and the reports will be created by using SSRS, right? So SSRS is flexible enough to connect to the SQL Server databases to fetch data. So mostly destinations in SSIS will be a SQL Server database, right? 80%, and remaining 20% maybe some other databases or maybe a file system, depends on the requirement, right? So what are the tables which we have created till now here? Those are purely is used to store data into it. Okay. And stored procedures also we have created, right? I think we have got a sense now. Why do we use stored procedures? Stored procedures is also used to load data into a table based on some intermediate operations, right? So now see here we are doing the data loading part in SQL Server. Then why do we need to use ETL, right? So in SQL Server, if tables are there within the same server, right? Here we have a server called Lenovo-PC, right? Mine. So if there is a table called AdventureWorks, I mean database called AdventureWorks, and there is a table called dim customer. If you want to load this table data into a database called October 2021, we can load it using SQL only. See here, I'll just do some basic insertion. Select. Guys, can you tell me the query to insert data into a new table by using existing table? What's the syntax? If you want to
select all into new table name.
Select all into
new table name from old table name where 1 equal to 2 it I mean it gives only this data structure. 1 equal to 1 means it gives both the data and the structure.
Okay. See, yeah, right. So select column list into, I'll create another table called dim geography in October 2021 database. So using this, my table is in AdventureWorks database and I'm going to create a new table in October 2021, right? So it has been created. So this is simple, right? So we just created a table with existing structure, which is there in AdventureWorks, and I have created the table in October 2021. If I do select star from a table name, I can see the data in it, right? So the table creation and data loading is easy within the SQL Server, right? But if it is there in the file system, or if it is there in the some other server, let's say here Lenovo-PC, right? And since this is a network, I told you, right? So in real time, all the servers will be network connected. So same servers can be accessed by multiple developers within the team, right? So if let's say there is one more server, okay, Lenovo-UAT, something like that, right? If you want to fetch data from that server to here, it's not possible, right? So during those cases, when you are using source system, some other servers, or maybe a file system, we need to go for SSIS, which is a ETL tool, right? So I think so most of you will get a doubt, since we have already stored procedures to load data into a table, why do we need to use SSIS? I hope you got the answer. If you did not get doubt, maybe you can get this terminology so that in interviews also it will be helpful. So there will be a question, we have SQL Server to load data, right? Then why do we need ETL process, right? So because if there is a source data in different databases like Oracle, or maybe Teradata, or maybe some other SQL Server, or maybe Excel file, right? So to load all source data into a SQL, we just need a ETL process. We are using ETL called SSIS, right? So to start with, to open a software, you just need to install Visual Studio. I think I have sent you all the instructions. And once you install, so try to go to search and then search with, for you, it will be Visual Studio, you can search it. For me, it is SQL Server Data Tools. Mine is old version, right? So you just need to type Visual Studio, that's it. Okay. So once you type Visual Studio, click on that Visual Studio. Here I clicked on Data Tools. It will open the Visual Studio like this. Okay. The view will be similar to this. Maybe the GUI will differ for you since that is the latest version. And then click on New Project. Okay. Then see here easily the options are available. Business Intelligence Analysis Services. This is SSIS. We are not covering as part of the course. And Integration Services, it is for SSIS, and reporting for SSRS, right? So since we are discussing SSIS, we need to select Integration Services, and in the right side here, Integration Services Project. There is another option called Wizard. This Wizard is like ad hoc, like when you install a software, click on next, and then install option is there, right? The similar way Wizard also ad hocly we can load data, but this is not recommendable in real time. So try to choose Integration Services Project here. Okay. But since you are utilizing the latest version, it will be having .NET options also here, right? And you need to scroll down. So there will be a toolbar for you guys, latest version. If you scroll down at the last, you can find these integration options. Okay. So don't panic. So try to check the options when you open the Visual Studio in your PC, and try to scroll down and check all the options, whether you can see the integration services or not. If it is there, try to click on it. If it is not there, let me know, or else you can try to install the plugins. Okay. We'll see, mostly it will be there for you guys, but you just need to scroll down. There will be a lot of options for you. Okay. And then once you choose Integration Services Project, here it will ask for the name. You can give your name. I'll just give my first package. We'll call each SSIS flow as a packages. I'll tell you where we'll use this terminology called package. And then here location is there. So in the location, wherever you browse the folder, there all of your SSIS packages will be stored. Whatever you're going to create in SSIS, those will be stored under that folder. See here, I'll go to October 2021 folder, and then I'll create a folder called SSIS, and here I'll store the packages now. I'm selecting this folder. Now what happens? All of your changes, what you are going to do in SSIS, it will store under this folder. Okay. Choose your own folder where you want to save it, right? And remember this folder path as well. Click on OK. It will open a Visual Studio development part. See here, you can see by default a package.dtsx, right? Which means all SSIS things which we're going to create will be in the name of packages, right? So you can see by default a solution explorer and then properties. If it is not able to get it this windows automatically, go to view and then click on properties window. You can see the properties window and solution explorer here. Okay, if it is not popped up automatically for you, then go to view and try to choose solution explorer. It will be like this. This is your solution which you created. In my case, I have created my first package, and then you can see SSIS packages here, and by default one package will get added. That package name is package.dtsx. So all the packages in SSIS will be stored with name.dtsx. So .dtsx is nothing but DTSX is data transformation services extensible. Okay, all of our SSIS packages will store with package name.dtsx. See, when you want to rename file name, you can just right click on it and rename, or you can just click 2 times slowly. It will be opened up the edit, and then you need to, if you want to change the name, you just need to change before dot. That extension should be the .dtx only. You should not change that. Okay, and maybe you can change it as basic load, basic data load. This is my package name. Okay, automatically here also it will get changed. And then if you observe here, there is a solution explorer and there is SSIS toolbox. If toolbox is not available, you just try to check here if it is available. If not, click on SSIS, you can find it, SSIS toolbox. Here you should click on it, SSIS. You can find the SSIS toolbox, which is important, right? So I'll pin this one. So if I pin it, see here the components of SSIS will call it, okay, or maybe architecture of SSIS, right? So the components of SSIS includes control flow, and if you click on the control, by default it will be under control flow. If you are under control flow, you can check here the SSIS toolbox is different. The SSIS will contains tasks and then containers, right? So you can see all the names ending with task, right? And then containers also will be there. And here we have 3 containers, right? For loop container, for each loop container, sequence container. And there will be one more container in SSIS, which is task host container, which is this one. See, the control flow is there, right? This design pane will call it as a container, which is task host container. By default, SSIS, all the tasks will be hosted here. So this full design window will call it as a task host container. Remember this point. Why? Because in interview they can ask you how many types of containers available. You have to say for loop container, for each loop container, sequence container, and then task host container, right? So if you observe here, when coming back to SSIS components, you can see control flow. If you are under control flow, the SSIS toolbox items are different. If I navigate to data flow, you can see different toolbox items, right? So now what is the difference between control flow and then data flow? Okay, see, the control flow will mainly deals with the flow of execution of sequence of tasks. I'll give you definition here. Control flow, it will mainly deals with sequence of execution of tasks. And data flow, actual data will be loaded from source to destination in data flow by applying intermediate transformations, right? See, whatever the ETL process which we have discussed, it will actually happen in the data flow level, right? So if I go back to Visual Studio, you can see if I go back to data flow, you can see sources. Let me come down. This is assistant. So what does it mean? I'll tell you. See here, if you come here, you can see the source, Excel source, flat file source. OLEDB is nothing but object linking enabled database, which is SQL Server. If you want to use a SQL Server as a source, you need to use this one. And you can see destinations. See, I have mentioned these sources and destinations also here, right? And transformations. So the same thing we are viewing here, which is sources and then destination. Mainly we'll use Excel source, flat file source, and then OLEDB, not ODBC. ODBC is used to connect to Oracle source. Since we don't have, we are not using Oracle, so we'll be connected only to SQL Server. And the same destinations, you can see it in the destination. And the transformation part we have discussed, right? Transformations will be available here. Merge, data conversion, right? Sort. I told you, right? Intermediate will do some transformations. These are the various transformations which we're going to discuss. And that's what the definition says. Data flow will mainly actually deals with the data loading between source and destination by applying some intermediate transformation. Whereas control flow will mainly deals with sequence of execution of tasks, which means which task has to execute first and which task has to execute next, right? So meaning, let's say here you can see two tasks here, data flow task and then execute SQL task. To work with data flow, you need to have a data flow task in the control flow level. Otherwise, you cannot. See, if I move to now data flow, what it is saying, no data flow task have been added to this package. Click here to add a new data flow task, right? So either if you can click on here, automatically a data flow task will be added in the control flow. See here, right? Can you see? And let me delete it here. Just click on delete it. And if I go back to again data flow, you can see this message. Always, if you want to work with data flow, you just need to have a data flow task in the control flow. So either you can add it data flow task by clicking on here, or in the control flow level, just hold it, drag and drop it. That's it. Hold it and release it. Just drag and drop, right? So if you double click on this one, it will navigate to data flow. Check carefully. See here, it is navigating to data flow. So if you want to work with data flow, you must need to add a control flow level data flow task, right? So this is one thing you should remember. And then coming back to the definition of control flow, it will mainly deals with sequence of execution of tasks, right? So let me use execute SQL task, which is used to execute the SQL statements. See, whatever the SQL statements which you are writing in SQL Server, all of them you can run it in execute SQL task. Let's say in SQL, if you are writing any select 0, what it will return? Select 0 means, guys, it will return 0 as a output, right? So I can run the same statement in SSIS as well by using execute SQL task. And how do you connect a SQL Server here in SSIS, guys? We are in under SSIS, right? But how do you connect it to a SQL Server database? So you can connect to SQL Server from SSIS using the connection managers here. Can you see connection managers here, right? On the bottom. So you can right click and then add new connection, new OLEDB. OLEDB is nothing but object linking enabled database, and which is nothing but a SQL Server database, right? So you can add a connection manager from here by right clicking on the bottom connection managers tab, or you can add it from here. If you click on the execute SQL task, you can see here connection, right? So click on here and then new connection. This way also you can create. I'll show you both the ways. Let me do it now first. Here, connection managers, right click on new OLEDB connection manager, and then click on new. So you can see here, since I have already created them earlier, you all are seeing this ones here. So if I click on new, it will ask for the server name, right? So you just need to enter your server name, and the server name is nothing but this one, the SQL server name which you connected to the SQL server, all right? So in my case, it is Lenovo-PC, Lenovo-PC, enter your server name. And then you can see here two ways of connectivity, Windows authentication and then SQL Server authentication. So I think while explaining SQL Server, while connecting to SQL Server also, the same options you can see, right? Windows authentication and then SQL authentication. Windows authentication doesn't require username and password, whereas for SQL authentication, you need username and password. In real time, if they'll ask you to connect to SQL authentication, they'll provide you username and then password. Okay. So for now, we'll use Windows authentication, and same in SSIS also, we'll use the Windows authentication. If you click on the radio button, SQL Server authentication, it will ask for username and password. Since we did not set it, not required. In real time, they will provide you if they ask you to connect it to SQL Server authentication. So use it with Windows authentication and choose your database wherever you want to run the queries. So our database is, you can see here, whatever the databases you have it in Lenovo-PC, all those databases you can see here. AdventureWorks, SummerReady, right? August 2021. So I'm selecting our database. So once you select the database, click on test connection here. It will say whether the provided details are correct or not. So it popped up like test connection succeeded, right? Click on OK, which means provided server name and then database name is correct. If you click on test connection, if it says test connection succeeded, if there is any error, it will throw error message, right? So everything is fine. Click on OK. Okay. And see here, you can see the server name followed by the database name, Lenovo-PC dot October 2021. If you want to edit these details again, you can right click and then edit, click on edit, or you can also double click it. It will open, right? If you want to change anything, okay. And if you want to rename this, you can right click and then rename it. Leave it as it is for now. And now we are connected to SQL Server from SSIS, right? So in SSIS, we connected to SQL Server by using this connection manager. So a connection manager is nothing but connection to the database. Okay. And now if I want to run select 0, open the execute SQL task here. And then here by default connection type is OLEDB. And you also can see different options. You can connect it to Excel. You can connect it to ODBC, means it is for Oracle. All right. So since we are using SQL Server, let's use OLEDB. And then here you can see a connection. Connection is nothing but on which server you need to run these commands which you're going to enter in this task, right? So we have connected, created a connection manager, right? Choose that. If there are multiple connection managers, you have to provide which one you want to execute the queries. Since we have to do only one, use this one, but be careful when you are creating multiple, on which database you want to run it, on which server, choose that corresponding connection manager, right? So and then type your query here. So you can see a option called Sql Statement. Here if you click on, you can see 3 dotted here. Click on that and a designer will be open. You can write all of your SQL statements here. I'll just write select 0. Okay. We can also write select star form. We can also write insert into select star form. We can write delete from table name. We can also write truncate table, right? I'll show you all the examples, but now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to justify the definition of control flow, which is the sequence of execution of tasks, right? So now I'm executing here, select 0. Now we cannot see that red mark here. So the whatever the task you configured, it is correct. So you cannot see any errors, right? So if you want to execute it, if you want to execute only one task, you can right click and execute task, or you can go to Solution Explorer I have clicked on execute, it is executing, right? So if it is executing means it will run this command, that's it. You cannot see the data, it will just execute, that's it here, right? Like you can see data here, select 0 means 0, it will display. In SSIS, it will not display here, right? It will say whether the command completed successfully with green or red symbol. If it is green here, the command is successfully completed. If it is red, the command is failed. And guys, please go on mute. If it is success or failure, you can see the messages in the progress tab here. You can see a progress tab, right? So it is saying started, validation is completed. This is the query we are writing, select 0, and then how much time it took it. All this information you can see it in the progress tab, right? So now it is under design, it is under execution mode. If you come out of execution mode, you can click on stop debugging here, this option, or at the bottom there is a text here, package execution completed. Click here to switch to design mode. See, if you are in execution mode, you cannot do the changes. So once you come out of the execution mode, then only if you want to change anything, you can change it, right? So either click on here or click on here, it will come out of the execution mode. You can do the design. See here, it came out. And if you observe here, it was the progress. Now it is execution result, the naming convention of the window, right? Which means just to satisfy the naming conventions, while it is running, the naming convention is progress. Once after execution is completed, it just rename the window name to execution results. That's it. Both windows are same, just the naming convention changed, right? While execution, it will be progress tab. Once you come out of the execution, it will be execution results, right? And then if I add one more task here, I will add two more tasks. Drag and drop it, that's it. Okay. And then same way, I'll open it and I'll give the connection manager and I'll just use select one here, the command. And in the other task, I'll just choose the connection type and connection manager name. I'll write the query as select 5, right? So now what happens, if I execute all the tasks, see, if I execute by clicking on only one task and right click and execute, it will run only this task, right? If you want to execute all the 3 tasks at a time, you just need to execute the full package. So go to Solution Explorer and right click on the package name, right click, and you can see the execute package. So if you click on it, all the 3 tasks will get executed. Observe clearly what happens. All the 3 tasks are try to run at a time, right? And you can see the progress tab here, all the 3 task validation. So what query we have written over there, all this information you can see it in the progress tab. Once I come out of the execution mode, you can see the same tab is renamed to execution result, right? So now the thing which you need to observe here, all the 3 tasks try to run at a time, but my requirement is to run first this task and then second it should run. If these 2 tasks run successfully, then only I should run this task. That's my requirement. I'll repeat it. First, this task should execute. Once this task runs successfully, then only I should execute the second task. If both these tasks run fine, then only I should execute the third task, right? If let's say I'll give some syntax error here, select one, I'll just write and only select now. If I execute package, you can see that second task will get failed. Why? Because there is a syntax error, right? It is in red mark, the syntax error, right? But what's my requirement? First, this task should execute and then second task should execute. If both these tasks successfully runs, then only I should execute the third task. That is my requirement, right? So to achieve this, we have a line here. If you click on it, you can see a line, right? Green line. Just hold it, drag and drop into the second task. This one will call it as a precedent constraint. The line you can see, the green line, right? That will call it as precedence constraint. Okay. we have three types of precedent constraint: success, completion, and then failure. So success will be in green color, completion will be in a blue color, and failure red, right? So these are the three types of precedence constraints available. How to check is, you just need to, if you mouse over here, you can see underline, you mouse over it and then right click on it. Once you get mouse over and once you get the symbol, horizontal symbol, right click on it, you can see success, failure, and then completion, right? If let's say by default it will be success in green color, if I click on failure, then you can see it in the red color. If I click on completion, you can see in blue color, right? So let it be in success. Now if I run, what happens, let's check it out. First task will run fine and second task got failed, but still the third task is executing, right? But my requirement is first task should execute first and then second task. If the second task also runs fine, then only I should execute the third task, right? So now again you need to connect from this task to this task and leave it. And if I execute the package now, first task ran fine, second task got failed. Did the third task ran now? No, right? The execution did not come to the third task. Why? Because this task got failed and the constraints we have used here, success, green color. That's why the execution did not come to the third task. So that is what the definition I said. It will mainly deals with sequence of execution of tasks. Sequence means in which order we have to execute the tasks, right? Did we achieve that? So first I have to run this task, then only this task. Once these two tasks run successfully, then only I should execute it. So this type of achieving functionality of which task has to run first and which task has to execute next, we can do it in the control flow. Whereas the data flow will deals with mainly the data flow between source and destination by applying some intermediate transformations, right? So any questions on this? I think I told a long explanation. Any questions? If not, I'll send you link again. We'll connect for 20 more minutes. Okay, we'll finish the introduction part and then from tomorrow we'll start the concepts, right?
Yeah, Amar.
I'll send you the link, join back, guys.